Good evening, and welcome to Armageddon Live, Series 2, Episode 18, The Fifth Trumpet, Part 2, on this 26th of April, 2020. I'm your host, Daniel Decrypted. Actually, tonight is going to be a rather short episode, because I haven't got enough done today to make anything half decent. But if you recall yesterday's episode, we showed that the locusts are actually Muslims. The locusts of the fifth trumpet are the Muslims. So the only little thing that we're going to be doing today is starting to look at structure. Because to tell you the truth, I don't necessarily understand a lot of the structure in the fifth trumpet, and I really need to study it a lot more. So I'll show you what I have so far, and then we'll call it quits for tonight, and I'll go and study. And we'll see what else I can get. So, taking me out of the way. Yes, so here's a very basic initial stuff that we find when we look at the fifth trumpet. So it says, I saw a star fall from heaven unto the earth, and to him was given the key of the bottomless pit. Verse 1. And the end of the fifth trumpet, it says, and they had a king over them, which is the angel of the bottomless pit. Verse 11. Now the interesting thing about this is by Revelation 1:20, we know that a star equals an angel. So that's the star that falls, and the angel of the bottomless pit are the exact same thing. Of course, that should bring up, if you recall the Bible, Isaiah 14:12. Isaiah 14:12. Well, let's go and look there. Actually, no, that might not work very well. Well, anyway, Isaiah 14:12 is, O how art thou fallen, O Lucifer, son of the morning. So, right, he's the morning star and he's fallen down. So that's where this imagery is coming from. It's from that, meaning that these locusts have a satanic influence behind them. Alright, the next thing to see is, to him was given the key of the bottomless pit. Verse 1. Well, second part of verse 1. And they had a king over them. So key and king are linked. And we get that link in through two messianic prophecies. The first, Isaiah 22:22, it comes out of the Church of Philadelphia, where it says that Jesus, what he opens, no one can close, and what he closes, no one can open. Well, I suppose, well, maybe I'll have to just look at that. We'll look at that tomorrow, but that's roughly what the verse says. He is the key, and so he can open what he opens, no one can close, and what he closes, no one can open. Anyway, that's a reference to Isaiah 22:22. And if you read on further in that, it says that the key is on his shoulder. But then Isaiah 9:6 and 7 also is a messianic prophecy. It's the the everlasting Father, the Prince of Peace. And it says, what is it? I can't remember. The government is on his shoulder. Oh, there we go. So Isaiah 22:22, when you read it, it goes through and says that he's got the keys. What he opens, no one can close. And what he closes, no one can open. And then it says something about he'll bring in the kingdom through judge. Oh, maybe it's 9. No, it's 9 that says that. I'm getting all mixed up. This is why I should have been ready to read these things. Anyway, the verse says that you bring in judgment through. You bring in the kingdom through judgment. So anyway, sorry about that. Not exactly prepared, but anyway. As you can see, at least the structure is ready. So you see this initial part of a structure, 2 layers. And the next part is, it's a little complicated. There's probably a structure line over top of a structure. That's what I thought when I studied this before. But I want to be more certain about it. That's why I've only shown you what I know is for certain. Alright, so the next structure is also another one that I know is for sure. And that's this one. The structure in the 5th trumpet, verses 7 through 9. So, it says, "And the shapes of the locusts were like unto horses prepared unto battle, and on their heads were as it were crowns like gold, and their faces were as the faces of men, and they had hair as the hair of women, and their teeth were as the teeth of lions, and they had breastplates, as it were breastplates of iron. And the sound of their wings was as the sound of chariots of many horses run into battle." So here it's pretty easy to see that there's a chiasm there. So we have this repetition of horses and in battles at the beginning and at the end. It's interesting too. I've highlighted the fact that first it talks about the shapes of what the locusts look like, and then it talks about the sound of the locusts. In both cases, of course, it's horses going to battle. And of course, if you think about the Muslims, the Arabs, or Saracens, as they once were called, that's what they went to battle on their horses. So that's how they fought, was on horseback. Unlike most other armies that had foot soldiers, the Arabs just had horses. That was their main form of attack. Alright, so you have that's parallel, and then you have their heads were as it were crowns, and on their and on their heads were as it were crowns like gold, and their teeth were as the teeth of lions. And they had breastplates, as it were breastplates of iron. Now the sticky point of this is there seems to be almost 2 things lying on top of each other. So these 4 lines in the center, or two layers, they seem to be focused on the head and face. So right, we're talking about the head, talk about face, we talk about the hair, and then we talk about the teeth. So these are all aspects of the face of the person, the face of the creature. However, when you look at the outside, the inside, it's talking about the face, the look of the face, and it's talking about the hair, right? These are physical aspects of the person's face. But then when you look at the outer, the next layer out, here, and looking at this part here, it's talking about crowns. It's talking about something that they're wearing. And here, the second one, the first part of here talks about teeth. That's part of the face. But then we're talking about something that they're wearing. So there's almost like this connection between crowns and breastplates, heads and teeth. But then you've got gold can be connected to lions, where you're using the prophecies of Daniel 2 and 7. Gold and lions are symbols of Babylon. Or then you can connect gold and iron as two metals. Those are the two metals in the statue of Daniel 2. So the head and the feet, Babylon and Rome. So it's hard to tell exactly which, although I would favor that the gold and lions is for sure Babylon is being brought up here. In the sixth trumpet, we actually have lions being brought up again, and there's got to be a good reason why lions are being brought up so much. And I believe it is because there's a Babylonian aspect in these in the Muslims. In the fifth and sixth trumpets, there's a Babylonian aspect there. That's why we bring up the lion, and that would be why the gold versus the lion is probably for sure there. Now, whether the gold and iron is part of that is being brought up there too, I don't know. But for sure there's this structure here. For sure the layers are there. But in that layer, I'm not sure if it's only the gold and lions are connected or whether the gold and iron is a connection point too. It's very complex when you don't know exactly what's being brought out. That's why it takes a lot of prayer and a lot of study. Because for sure, the majority of this is the appearance. So you got the horses. Yes, we know the Saracens or the Arabs. The horse was a very big part of their warfare. Right? And we're talking about battle here. We also know that when it came to the Saracens, the Arabs, they had long hair, thus hair like women, and they had beards, mustache, thus faces like men. So it's definitely there also. Now the crowns, of course, is talking about the turbans that they would wear. Now apparently, according to one of the quotes I was reading, one book I was reading, is they would put gold items in their turbans too. So you get this crowns like gold. And the teeth of lions could be just their ferocity. Anyway. And the breastplates, they definitely wore breastplates. They had iron breastplates. That's also another quote that I could read, but I didn't prepare myself to read that. And to try and look at quotes right now online would kill my connection. So anyway, the main point of it is this structure seems to be very, very much about the physical look of the Arabs, of the Muslims. Anyway, the only other thing is that part of I didn't get to look is there's a layer just outside of this. So verse 6 or so and verse 10, and they bring up the tail, the scorpion tail. Now, this is the point of the scorpion tail. The prophet that teacheth lies, he is the tail. Isaiah 9:15. So according to this vision of John, the fifth trumpet and the sixth trumpet, they have a lion prophet amongst them. And of course, we're talking about the Muslims here. So what is the Bible referring to? obviously it must be referring to Mohammed. So according to prophecy, he's definitely a lion prophet. Anyway, that is actually it for tonight. As I said, I've got to dig into things a little more, and then with God's blessings, maybe I'll have something more to show tomorrow. As I said, it's complex, very time consuming, but well worth it. And if I can pass on a little more truth, a little more insight into prophecy, then it's for sure it's well worth it. So as I said, that's it for tonight. I wish it'd been a little more substance into this, but anyway. Oh, I should have brought up the fact that when you're talking about angels and king, this of course indicates that this is the point at which the Muslims have changed. Prior, well, this is actually talking about the Ottoman Empire, because it's under the Ottoman Empire that the Muslims had their first king. That's the Sultan. Prior to that, they had what are the caliphs. So they weren't. I forget what caliph means, but the point is they didn't really have a king before that. But with the Ottoman Empire, you get a king for the first time. And so the 5th and 6th trumpet are actually dealing with the Ottoman Empire. Actually, it's the 3rd and 4th trumpet that deal with the Muslims, that are the period between Muhammad and the Ottoman Empire. Now, this actually brings in some complication too, but that's what I'm hoping I'll get enough light on it in the days to come, and I'll explain that a bit more. But it's pretty complex, this stuff, so I want to make sure that it's accurate. Anyway, so that's a little bit more of the 5th trumpet. I hope that was enlightening. I hope it piqued your interest, and God bless, and good night, and I hope to see you tomorrow night.